Welcome to Corys Conscious Living. Are you ready to meditate with Cory? Make sure that you're laying down, you're comfortable, everything is just right, and you're ready to listen to the story. Try and relax your body, try and be still and quiet. Okay, let's get started. Cherry was dreaming. She was dreaming the most incredible dream. The little paws were running all over her cat bed. Her eyes were twitching, her whiskers were twitching, her whole body was flinching and moving. She was in the most serious of dreams. Her dream was crazy. OMG! Oh my gosh! Cherry said as she was running through the forest. Oh my gosh! I'm being chased by the biggest elephants! And they don't look like normal elephants! Oh no! She kept looking back over her shoulder, screaming at the top of her lungs. OMG! These elephants have 3 eyeballs! Not just 2, not 1, but 3 eyeballs! She was panting and she was running as fast as she could. All she could see were trees coming ahead. Trees everywhere in the forest, left, right, in front of her. They were all over the place. She didn't seem to think she had anywhere to go. There were so many elephants behind her. She was so stressed when all of a sudden she ran straight into a tree. As she ran up the tree, she'd never climbed a tree like that before, not as good as that. She noticed how fast she was running up the tree. The tree was a redwood tree. It was the biggest tree in the entire world. It was like 2, 3, 4,000 feet tall. It was so big. She was running and it felt like she was running for miles and miles. And there were no elephants behind her anymore, and she stopped. She took a breath. She laid on the tree and just relaxed and realised that she started to slid down it when she stopped running, so she had to get back up and start running again. And then all of a sudden she coughed and sneezed and found herself in a field full of the biggest flowers. They were flowers that were giants. They weren't ordinary flowers. They were giant flowers, and they were all bright yellow, and they were singing at the top of their voices. The sun was out. The sun was shining down on the flowers. Cherry noticed that the flowers were singing because the sun was shining on them. They were so happy that the sun was shining down on them that they sang, every one of them. And this field was enormous. It was so big, filled with bright yellow flowers, sunflowers, beaming and screaming and singing at the top of their lungs. Cherry stood there in awe and just listened. It was like a choir of angels, but it wasn't angels, it was giant sunflowers. She stood there and opened her mouth and sang. She felt the sun on her fur. OMG! It was contagious. She was singing like she'd never sang before. Her voice was absolutely amazing. She thought in that moment, OMG, I'd be so good on the voice right now. I'd actually win. I know I'd win. I really hit that. I'm going to try it again. She said at the top of her lungs. All of the giant sunflowers peeked down and looked at her. They seemed to have smiley faces because the sun was making them so happy. They were all smiling at her. In her mind, she could see her own face, smiling from ear to ear, and it was turning yellow, and she was getting a head full of petals, just like the sunflowers. She was turning into a sunflower. The more she stood underneath the sun, the more she felt like a sunflower. Her voice went on and on and on, and she did say once again, OMG! I sound absolutely amazing! I really do need to get on The Voice. They think I were absolutely tremendously fantastic! if I was on The Voice. I'd win. I'd easily win, she was thinking in her mind. And then all of a sudden, once again, she coughed, she sneezed, she seemed to hit her face with her paw in her real life paw, like while she was dreaming. It hit her in the face. And then she was in the middle of another field. This time there were ants marching very strictly. Dum, 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 dum. All of the thousands and thousands and trillions and millions of tiny little feet were stomping on the ground, and they were in line, very in sync, every single one of them stepping at the same pace at the same time, just marching. Dum, 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 dum. She felt large. She felt large as she looked down at all the trillions and millions and billions and gazillions of ants all around her, marching in a formation. It was like they were on a mission. They were collecting tiny little particles of food off the ground, but they had it so organized. They were all in line, one behind the other, all stepping at exactly the same time. Stomp, 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 stomp. Not one single ant looked at her. She felt how focused they were, how organized they were. She felt like she was intruding. She wanted to almost sneeze and scratch her head and do something to get out of there, because it was like she was in the way, but at the same time she was mesmerized by the ants that were completely organized. Stomp, 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 stomp. She thought about it. I could really do with being this organised sometimes, because sometimes, especially if I'm supposed to be tidying out my cupboards at home or something, or organising my desk, I'm never this organised. I could really do with being this organised, she thought as a side note. I really think I would get a lot done. All I would have to do is just march around my bedroom, stomp, 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 stomp. I would get my bedroom clean in no time. And then all of a sudden, she was rolling down a river next to a rubber duck. The rubber duck motioned to her that it couldn't speak. It was doing things with its mouth, and because it was a rubber duck, it couldn't open its mouth because it had been made with its mouth closed, and it was just kind of smiling at her. But the rubber duck managed to move its rubber around a little bit, so it looked like it was trying to go like trying to say something to her, and it kept moving its head as if to say, "Help! Help!" Cherry said, "What's wrong?" as they floated down the river together. The river was beautiful, by the way. It was a beautiful, clear, crispy, like a river that you would find in Alaska. You could see all the fish down below, and the rocks were gleaming with the sunlight, and it was just so nice and quiet and a steady stream, nothing too crazy. It was nice to just relax a little bit, calm down. This dream was, wow, it was just one thing after another. She paused and took a nice big deep breath, and again her attention got drawn to the rubber duck that looked like he was trying to say something. She had this overwhelming feeling to just pat the duck on the head, and when she patted the duck on the head, the duck started to magically talk to her. "Oh, thank goodness," said the duck. "I've been wanting to say something for gosh knows how many years. I would really like to be a real duck. Can you help me be a real duck?" Cherry, thinking, "Well, I am dreaming. Anything's possible in a dream," she said in her mind. She said out loud. I bet you I can. I bet all I have to do is just kind of imagine it or something, or just see it in my mind, or maybe I'll do some magical trick. That's it. I know what I have to do. All right, are you ready?" She thought about it for a second. She decided that she had to be very, very coordinated for this magical trick to take place. She had to tap her front paws and her back paws together at the same time while she was laying on her back, floating down the river. It was a challenge, but she was ready for it. "Are you ready?" she said. "Are you ready? I'm going to do it. Are you ready? You're going to be a real live duck any moment." She clapped her feet, her paws together. The duck, all of a sudden, had fur and a real life beak and real eyes. It was squishing up its nose, squishing up its beak, moving its eyes around, blinking as fast as it could. "Wow," said the duck. "Thanks a lot." And off it swam. Sherry said, "Wait a minute! You can't just disappear from my dream. This is my dream. You can't just swim." The duck was gone. And then, the next thing that were happening was she was riding a bike in the clouds. Like a big bike with big wheels. It looked like an old-fashioned bike, like a really, really old bike that you would get in in the World War I or something like that. It was really, really old. And it had really big wheels that looked very, very ancient. And she was just riding on the bike through the clouds. It was very, very nice. The clouds seemed to snuggle and cuddle her as she broke through them on her bicycle. It was quiet up there. Really, really peaceful. She decided that this part of her dream was very relaxing. She wondered if she could just stay here. Just chill out. Just relax. "Oh, this is lovely," she said. "I like this. No one change my dream, please. I like this dream. Just bicycling away in the clouds, no one around, all alone. It looks like I'm surrounded by big, fluffy marshmallows," she said. Yeah, I want to stay here. Don't make me move. No one make me move." And then all of a sudden she was jumping from mountaintop to mountaintop with big giant rubber boots on that were bouncy and had springs on the bottom. Boing, 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 boing. From mountain to mountain. It was like all of a sudden there was no time and space. She was moving all over the world as if she was that big with a big giant bouncy boots on, that she was going from one country to the next in a matter of seconds. She was in China, then she was in India, then she was in Australia, then she was in Japan again, and then she was everywhere. She was just boink, 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 doing big, giant, tremendous jumps. She liked this part too. She thought about just letting go and going with the jump, just releasing her whole body. "Are we ready? Boink!" She would just bounce and let go and swing out her little paws and her legs in a big star shape, from mountain to mountain, from country to country, just boinging all over the world. She started to relax into each jump. Boing, boing, boing. She let go of any resistance that she had in her body. She relaxed her legs. Her head just flung back every time she jumped. Like she was diving into space, allowing the whole world to hug her and surround her and just support her. Boing. She closed her eyes. Boing. It felt nice to just let go and trust. She sighed. She really, really, really did like this. She let her whole body relax, and occasionally she would open her eyes and look down at the world, seeing the different countries that she was flying and jumping through at an enormous speed, an enormous rate. She would just get glimpses of different coloured greens and blues and oceans. The sky seemed to just be a picture that followed her everywhere. The clouds perfectly fluffy and white. It was a delicious dream. It was nice to just relax as she jumped and jumped and jumped. She didn't feel tired at all jumping. It was like some magical energy was just taking her from one country to the next. She wondered at one point if there was a purpose to her jumping. Maybe she was sprinkling magical love dust all over the world, she thought, just falling from her fur, like stardust falling from the sky. Maybe that was why she was doing this, with her big, giant, jumpy, springy boots on. Maybe she was changing the world, filling it full of love, sprinkling from her fur jump after jump after jump. How cool is that? She thought. OMG was the last thing she remembered. The next morning she woke up and told Heidi and Vea all about her crazy dream. But she felt good. She felt like she'd been saving the world with her magical love jumps. She was excited to see if she had another dream like that. How cool would that be? That would be so awesome, she said. The